Hello, everybody, and welcome to the South Florida Power BI user group. My name is Adriano, your host, and thank you very much for making the time in your day to be here with us for another exciting presentation. So, if you have not, please take a minute and subscribe, like, and share the video. Now, throughout our presentation, you can interact with us, the presenter, ask questions just by using the live chat on YouTube. Now, if you're watching us after the presentation has complete, enter your question in the comment section below, and we will follow up with you. Now, as for today, we have a great presenter, Pragati Jain, who will be talking with us about unhide the power of Power Query. Right here. Oh, there we go. Right here. Power Query in Power BI. So a very exciting presentation here for you to learn how to the basics and beyond on Power Query in Power BI. Now, also, please take a moment and reserve your time for February 1st, 2022 at 6 p.m. on this very same channel, where we'll be hosting Pablo Moreno talking about using Python forecasting. Using Python forecasting in Power BI, where you're going to learn all the ways to integrate and use Python within Power BI, just going beyond the usual things you learn about it. Now, without further ado, remember, let us know where are you located. Enter it in the comment section. All right, so without further ado, I bring you our guest. And we are honored to have Pragati Jain. Hello, Pragati.
Hey Adriano, how are you? How's everyone?
All right. Well, thank you. And folks, can you hear us now? I see someone here saying, "Good morning from Seattle. Will the sound start with the meeting?" Yes, it does. Let us know if you can hear us, Deborah. Thank you. And everybody else. All right. I take that you, Deborah, can hear us. All right. So we're all set. Thank you. All right, Pragati, tell us, where are you located at?
So I'm based in London, United Kingdom. So it's kind of evening for me, just end of the workday. So yeah, quite excited to give the session now. Something new apart from my work.
Excellent. Thank you for joining us. Be here to share your great knowledge. It's
My
an
pleasure.
awesome session.
My pleasure.
As we are talking about location, I see here we have Deborah from Seattle,
Yeah.
and we have Corner, Nebraska for Donald. Welcome, Donald. And we have also Amondi from Nairobi. Welcome, Amondi. And welcome everybody else out there. Pushpak, who is also here. Let us know where you're located at. And everybody else out there, if you want to participate, be part of the chat, please remember, click on the subscribe button, and then you have access to the live chat. All right. Now, we're getting some comments. So tell us about a little bit about you, Pragati. I know you talked during your presentation, but let us know a little bit about you.
So I think a very small and shortest summary is I think most of the people who are connected with me on LinkedIn and Twitter, they know I'm a Microsoft Data Platform MVP. And those who are active on Microsoft Power BI community, they probably know me more well. I'm one of the super user at Power BI community. So I just try to help people on the forum with their queries. And obviously, most of the time, I learn from the members on the community. But yeah, that's something I'm passionate about. And yeah, apart from that, I'm little bit into creative side, so I'm a painter as well. I do in my free time, I'm a painter. So yeah, I like to do something as a hobby. And that's it basically me. I think most of you are already know me, I think, from LinkedIn and Twitter. So yeah, that's me.
And if you all don't know or not familiar, haven't heard or followed her links, check out her social media links below in the comment section, in the description section of this video here. You're going to see her LinkedIn, Twitter, where she's very active with tips and information about great Power BI content.
Thanks for sharing that, Adriano.
Hey, thank you for collaborating to the community here as a whole. Also, tell us what's your role and how it came about your
Sorry.
career. Can you
Oh,
tell us a
okay.
bit about your role and your career, etc.?
Yeah, so like actually, I started as a database developer, I think 12 years back. But then working for a few years, I just decided on like, I really don't want to be a database developer all my life. So I just switched into analytics. So basically, it was not like a switching into a new job. It was more around pursuing masters. So I did my masters into data science and analytics from here, London. And then yeah, started my career in analytics as a data analyst intern first, and eventually got permanent job as a data analyst, worked there for a few years, gained some skills. So yeah, I mean, if people are following me, they already know like Microsoft Power BI is one of my, I think, strongest skill. And then apart from that, I've worked on different tools as well. Like I've worked a lot into Azure ML Studio, PySpark, Databricks. That's something I've also worked on. Then I've worked on different visualization tools as well, like Tableau. I've also worked on Looker, which is a different area from Microsoft platform, Google Cloud platform. So yeah, that's something what I have done. And then eventually I started contributing on Microsoft Power BI community from last 3 years. And luckily last year my contributions were appreciated and I was nominated for an MVP and received my MVP last year in March 2021. So that was a big win for me because it just gave me a different level of confidence because all my work and contributions were contributed and appreciated. And yeah, like recently I've changed my job, so I've joined Avanade here in UK, London, as a senior consultant. So yeah, that's the new journey I've started. 1 week back, yeah, this is my second week at Avanade. So yeah, it's just a week old. So yeah, quite excited for it now.
Congratulations there.
Thank you.
A lot of great accomplishments we see from your starting point to where you are at, and with a great potential there for greater things to come. And
Thanks, Adriano. Hopefully.
absolutely, and congratulations on your MVP and your new opportunity there.
Thank
Maybe a
you. Thanks so
successful
much.
one there.
Thank you so much.
And let's take a quick look here for the comments, and then we will start it up. And so we have Sanjeev from India, Pushpak from India. He said Maharashtra. And,
Maharashtra, yeah, that's the state in which Mumbai is.
all right. So
Yeah.
pardon me, folks, if my pronunciation fails here. And we have Christian from Quebec. Oh, there's a question already. We have Pushpak saying, "Hi Pragati, as a beginner, what you suggest regarding should I start with Power BI or Tableau?"
Oh, that's a tough question because I started my journey with Tableau as a visualization tool because that was the first visualization tool I ever worked on. But yeah, it was more like, I think, slowly I entered into Power BI and started working into it. I won't say like Power BI is better or Tableau. You can actually start with any visualization tool, I would say, because most of the visualization tools have very similar way of bringing in data, transforming it, and getting started with reporting. So it's more up to you which one you really fancy doing. I would say Power BI. Obviously I'm a little biased towards it, but it has got benefit. Power BI desktop is free. Like for Tableau, you just get a 15 days free license. I think that's it. But after that, it is paid. But Power BI desktop is freely available. So you can maybe start with Power BI. You don't need to pay for it. I mean, just get started. So yeah.
Absolutely. Very good point there. And let me just finish it up here. So thanks for the question, Pushback. Everybody else, you got a question during the presentation, use the live chat. Remember to subscribe so you can use the live chat. Like, and very important, folks, drop a comment. If you like the presentation here, enter your comment here, help the algorithm so there is greater reach. And we have here Deepak from Noida. We have Christian here saying definitely Power BI nowadays.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say so.
All right, folks. And oh yeah, we have John here from Wintry, New Jersey. Yes, stay warm out there, John, and everybody on the northeast, and stay healthy too. All right, folks. Thanks for the great intro here, Pragati. Now, folks, without further ado, it's all you, Pragati. Feel free to start there.
Thanks, Adriano. I'll just share my screen. So, just give me a
Sure.
hands up that you can see it. So, can you see my screen?
Yes,
There's a presentation
great.
there.
I see your Power BI up.
Cool. You can see the PowerPoint deck, right?
Correct.
Okay, cool. So, welcome everyone. I mean, I should say good morning to a few people, good afternoon, good evening, and even it's nighttime in India because I can see a few people are joining from India. So, thank you so much from joining from different time zones for my session. It really feels good when you see people from around the world. So, yeah, thanks for coming to my session today. And as you all know, it's about Unhide the Power of Power Query in Power BI. So before I start the session, as I've already given my introduction, but I generally like to give it again. So my name is Pragati Jain. Those who don't know me, I'm a Microsoft Data Platform MVP. I'm one of the super user at Microsoft Power BI community as well. So those who are active there, you may see me there helping people with Power BI related queries. Then I've got nearly 10 plus years of industry experience, and recently I have changed my job and I'm working as a senior consultant at Avanade, London. One fun fact about me is I'm a painter and I just like to call myself a techie artist. So that's what one of my hobbies basically. And any of you guys, if want to connect with me on social networking website, then I've got my own blog, datavibe.co.uk, LinkedIn. You can approach me on LinkedIn, Twitter, even on Power BI community. And I've recently started my YouTube channel. So I'll be bringing some new content in coming days to my YouTube channel as well. So it will be great to have all of you guys as my subscribers there. So before I start my session, I just want to show a little bit of agenda, what we are going to, talk about. So first thing, this is a one slide all demo session. Okay. So there are no other slides after this, just a slide with some data resources that I've used in the demo. That's it. So we'll be going through some basics in Power Query. They are basics, but they can be really effective when are trying to analyze your data or trying to generate some insights out of your data. So we'll start with bringing some basic data sets in Power Query in Power BI, and we'll see some important data transformations that can really help a report builder to build the base for his reporting. Then we'll also see some kind of benefits around how we can create custom column, conditional columns, or index columns in Power Query. Then we'll also see few things around advanced editor code. Especially, I'm very excited to show a few tricks with advanced editor code in Power Query. And then in the end, I'll also show a few bonus or Power Query tricks. So one thing is that I'll be trying to take the session in few sections. So once I finish few sections, I'll just see if there are any questions. I'll be happy to answer them and then go forward with the next part of the demo. So yeah, without waiting for anything else, let's just get started. Okay. Can you all see my Power BI window? Adriano, can you confirm that?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so this is Power BI desktop, guys. And first thing, obviously, I'm using Power Query in Power BI. I'm showing everything within Power Query in Power BI. But I had few questions few days back when I started promoting this session. Some people just started asking me whether it will be helpful for people using Power Query in any environment, whether in Excel or in data flows. those kind of questions. So what I think is like this session is purely Power Query oriented. Though I'm showing everything within Power BI environment, but it can be really helpful for anyone who's working with Power Query in any environment. So let's just get started with bringing in some, simple data set first. Not very complicated one. Let's start with the simple one. Okay, one thing here I forgot to mention, I'll be sharing my deck and a ready Power BI file, which contains everything that I'll be showing today with Adriano. So, he can share it on YouTube or on his channel or on his user group. So you guys can pick those files from there and, you can just see what we'll be seeing today in the session. Okay, so let's just start bringing a simple data set. So for me, a simple data set is just a text or CSV file. And I'll start with some reviews data. So all the data sets what I'll be using in today's session, they are all freely available in Kaggle on Kaggle website. And I've got few links for them in my PowerPoint deck. So you can just go and grab these data sets from there. And apart from there, I'm using this AdventureWorks SQL Server database. So that link is also there in the deck. So you can just go and easily download it and import it in your SQL Server on your machine. So, okay. So once we import the data, let's not directly load it. Let's click on transform data. So when I click on transform data, Power Query Editor opens for me. Okay, so this data set had just 6 columns. And what this data set is about is it's around the reviews and rating that different people have given based on their experience visiting different Disneyland locations around the world. So there are people from Australia, Singapore, India, US, Canada, Philippines, United Kingdom, Myanmar, and everywhere. So this is just a ratings and review data, like what were the people, how the different people have experienced while they visited Disneyland in the different branches of Disneyland around the world. Okay, now first thing, once we load a data in Power BI, I think few of you have already must have, identified this. If you see, when I loaded this data, I can see all my columns here, but you can see there's one column which has got red in it, year, month, okay? And then the other columns have just got green, okay? Now let's see what this is about, okay? Let's just see what this is. So in Power Query Editor, the first thing what I suggest as a best practice is whenever you get data in Power Query, you should first try to analyze or view the data or view some metrics around the data. Now, how you can do that is in Power Query Editor, there's something at the top called View. And under View, there are few options like column quality, column distribution, column profile. I'll start with column quality. Now you can, once you check this option, column quality, the data here against every column, you see a few metrics. Now, if I start with simple review ID column, you can see there are like 100% valid value, there are 0% error, and there are 0% empty values in that column. So what this is telling me is like this column looks perfectly fine based on what Power BI has detected it. Now, one thing what I want to highlight here is whenever these column quality, column profile, or column distribution metrics are displayed against the data set, they are just based on the top 1,000 rows what Power BI has, just detected, because our data sets can be bigger, right? Not every data set will be smaller. So these all column profiling metrics are based on first top 1,000 rows. Okay. Now the second column, rating column, it also looks good. There are no errors. There are no empty values. But when we come to year month column, it says that it has got few values in this column which have error. And it tends to tell us they're less than 1%. Okay. Now, once you see this error, I think some people who work with big data, they may just remove these errors because less than 1% is really a very small number and it won't impact the whole data set, right? But let's see how we can, figure out what error is this, okay? So before doing anything, let's just see. So when you hover over it, Power BI comes with a different new window and it gives you an option that you can remove errors, or if you click on these 3 dots, it gives you different kind of options as well, like whether you want to keep errors, whether you want to remove errors or replace errors, right? These are the three important things here because there are errors in this column. But let's first see what the error is. Okay, so how you can see what the error is here? Let's use the keep error stuff. Okay, before doing that, let me show one thing. So in Power BI, three basic areas. The left area is query area. Okay, so query area shows you what all data sets you have bought into Power BI. Okay, then the middle section is more around data preview error. So data preview area. So it tells you what data you have loaded and it tells you kind of structure, like what all columns are there in your data set. Okay. Then on the right, you have something called applied steps. Now, applied steps is basically all the transformations that you have done on this data set. Those are the steps. And obviously, Power BI is good at doing some, preliminary steps for us while we load those data sets in Power BI. So you can see, like, for example, my source was a simple CSV file. Power BI loaded it. Then it just promoted headers. So if you see, if I go on the left and let me just remove this. So if you see, my first row is something that contains headers, right? So what Power BI does by its best judgment is it promotes first row as the header. So I get my headers there. And the third thing what Power BI does is based on its best judgment, it detects the data type of the columns. So at this step, we get error on year month column. Cool. So I have shown you the three different areas that we'll deal with mostly. Okay. And obviously on the top ribbon, you can see different options for transformations and, viewing data profiles and other things. But now let's start with how we can handle this year month error. Okay. Okay. So when we go to column quality, it shows me error. And when I hover over it, I can remove errors, but I don't want to remove errors. First, I want to see what the errors are. Okay. Now, let's keep errors and remove rest of the other rows. So once you hit keep errors, Power BI removes all the rows which were error free and keeps only the rows that have got errors. And on the right, you get a new step which says kept errors in this data sets. So whatever you're transforming on your data sets, that keeps adding in under your applied steps. Cool. Now, if I want to see what the error is, what you can do is just click on this error. And what it does is it just shows you the error, what the error is actually. So you can see we couldn't pass the input provided as a date value. Details missing. Okay. Now what this error tells me is like there are few values in this year month column which are not date. Because what Power BI did based on its best judgment when it read the top 1,000 rows, it may have seen like most of the rows have got something like date, so it gave it a type as date. But obviously all the rows didn't have date in it. Some have text values like missing. That's why I couldn't convert it to date, because there are errors. Some are text and some are date, so you can't give multiple data type to a single column, right? So that's where we get that error. Now let's just see another thing. Let's remove this, go back to the original state. So if I remove these steps, I come to my original state. Now what I really want to do now, I know like in this column there are few rows which have got missing value. To validate this, what we can do is we can go back to our data set. I've already opened it, and in the year month column, if I scroll to the bottom, I can see this column has got text value in it. So along with date values, I can see a text value. That's why Power BI is not able to handle it. Now in Power BI, if a date value is missing in a column, it's better to give it empty, because Power BI just identifies it by itself. Okay, everything is date value in it, not any text value. So what we'll do, the first thing what we'll see is how to handle these kind of issues in Power Query. So for that, what we'll do is, if we just replace the missing with empty and then change the data type of year month column to date, then Power BI will actually take it. Let's see now how that happens. So for that, we'll do a small tweak first. If you see this change type step, so what this change type grid, you can see at the top, that what this change type step has done. It has actually given a data type to every single column in my data set. Now, what I really want to do is, I don't want my year month to be converted to date first, because when its type is changed to date, it gives me error. So I want to rectify my error before giving it a right data type. So what I'll do is, from this step, I'll just remove the data type change on my year month column. So what I do is just select it and remove it. Okay, and make sure you remove right. And what I'll do is, on the left, there's something called write option. So I click on that arrow. And what it does, it converted my year month column as a text. It basically didn't convert it, it just took it as a text value, because this column has got some date values and some text values. So that's why it is text. Now let's handle the missing column, missing value thing. Okay. So for that, what we can do is, in Power BI, you can easily replace values. Right click on your column, and there's something called replace values. Click on replace values, and it opens a new window. Now in this column, what I really want to find is, I want to find something called missing, and I want to replace it with empty. So that's why I'm not giving any value there. And I just hit OK. Now, once I hit OK, now this column has got date values along with empty. So if you see, our column profiling parameters have changed. Earlier, we had less than 1% error there, but now we have 0% error, but less than 1% empty values. That's fine. Now, as we know, this is a date column, right? So let's try changing its data type to date. So there are two ways of doing it. Click on your column. On the top ribbon, there's something called transform, and there's something called data type. So if you expand this, there's something called date. So if you click here, you can change it to date. Now see, Power BI took that column as with the right data type. So basically all the values are considered as data type, because a column with date data type can have empty or null values in it. So if you want to see the values, so you can just scroll, just expand this, and at the top you can see there are a few null values as well. So a date type column in Power BI accepts null values. That's why we chose this way to handle errors in this column. Cool. Now the other thing here is, let's explore the other profiling options. Okay, so when we go at the top under view, we had something like column quality. Now let's see column distribution. When I click on column distribution, you see there are different values, or different kind of distribution shown against every column. Now when you see this distribution, it comes up with two metrics, distinct and unique. Now there's a difference between distinct and unique. When you work with data, so distinct is basically how many different values are present in this column, and unique means is how many times that value has occurred only once in this column. So for example, in the review ID column, there are 1,000 distinct values, and they have occurred, and none of them has occurred basically multiple times. So that's 1,000 unique. And similarly, in the year month column, for example, it says 25 distinct and 1 unique. So year month column, that means there are 25 distinct values in this column, and 1 value has occurred basically more than once. So that's the two metrics it shows when we highlight this column distribution. Okay. Now there's another option, which is column profile. Now what column profile shows is, so once I clicked on column profile, okay, let me do that. Whatever column I've selected, it kind of shows me value distribution, like which value has occurred how many times, right? So it shows like a simple bar chart, so everyone can understand that. Similarly, reviewer location, if I click on that, it shows me most of the reviews come from Australia, which is followed by United States, then United Kingdom, then Philippines, India, and so on. So that's the value distribution of that column. So these three metrics, really important, guys, because once you are getting started with new data, you really need to have good insight about the data, like what the data is about, what distinct values, what unique values it has. Do I really need any transformation? So these kind of things can really help you in understanding and making those kind of decisions for reporting. Cool. So these were different profiling options or data quality options. Now, the next thing what I really want to show is, for example, in this data, we have something called branch. Okay. Now, this branch column, if I just see this, okay, so in Power BI, suppose if I click on this button and it's not showing me all the values from this column, and it says list may be incomplete, but you can see all the values. Just hit on load more. Once you hit on load more, it shows you all the different or distinct values that are appearing in this column. Now, as we already know, this data set is related to Disneyland reviews from the people who have visited them worldwide. But suppose if I really want to display this, modify the values in this column where I don't want Disneyland prefix. I just want California, Hong Kong, and Paris. So how we do that kind of transformation? Because suppose if you want to create a pie chart where you just want to show a distribution of like how many reviews are by different branches, and you really don't want like that Disneyland underscore California, Disneyland underscore Hong Kong. You just wanted California, Hong Kong, and Paris. So how you do that quickly in Power Query? So let's see. So there are two ways of doing it. The first way is simply replace value. So replace value, as we just saw before, let's see it again quickly. So I just want to replace this Disneyland underscore with space so that my value will just be Hong Kong, Paris, and California. So what you can do is right click on your column, replace value, and just type Disneyland underscore. And I just don't want to replace it with empty value, and I hit OK. So you can see my value is removed and I just end up with Hong Kong, Paris, and California. Okay, so this was one way of doing it. Now the second way of doing it, okay, another thing, we did this, we got a new step under applied step. So it kind of tells you what all steps you have applied on this data set. Now there's another way of doing it. I'll just revert and remove this change. Now, the other way of doing it is using some delimiter kind of extraction. So how we do that is, so click on your branch column, go to transform, and there's something called extract. Now, extract gives you ability to extract limited number of characters from the values in that column. Now, in this case, if you see that value properly, that underscore what we have got, it's a delimiter, right? It's a special character. So we can make use of this thing. So when you see these options under extract, there's something like text before delimiter, text after delimiter, and text between delimiters. Now, in my case, I want text after my delimiter, right? Because every main value appears after my underscore. So under extract, what I'll do is I'll choose option text after delimiter because that's what I want to keep in this column. So I hit on that and I end up seeing a new window. And what it asks me is, after what delimiter you want to retain the value. So in my case, it is underscore, right? I give underscore and I just hit OK. As soon as I do that, I come up with, I'm just left with Hong Kong, Paris, and California. So load more and California, Hong Kong, and Paris. So that's another way of, doing this kind of transformation. And you can see there's another, option. Oh, did I by default filter the row? Sorry, I think I did. I remove it. I think I just clicked on one of the value from these three. That's why it showed me I filtered the rows. Okay, so that's one way of using that extract feature on text values. Now, the other thing, what could be really helpful sometimes is having an index column in your data. Now, how the index column can be created. So it's pretty quick. It's like a single click thing. So suppose if you have your data you don't have unique value in a column in your data, then what you can do is you can end up creating an index column. An index is just like a unique identifier for individual row. So how you can quickly create is, so at the top ribbon, there's something called add column. Now in add column, there are different ways of adding column, like column from examples, custom column, invoke custom function, conditional column, index column, duplicate column. In this case, we want to create an index column because we want to give a unique identifier to every other row in this data set. So once you click on index column, there are different options under it. So how you want your index to be started? Should it be from 0, from 1, or you really want to give a custom value? In our case, let's use from 1. Okay. And once I hit this from 1, a new index column is added to the rightmost part of my data set. So if you see this, I've got an index column, and added index step is here. So if you click on the steps, you can see at the top of the formula bar what we have done. So added index gives me this. Okay. And similarly, suppose I want my index column to be in the starting of my data sets just for my view purpose. So what I can do is I can actually change the position of my index column by just dragging it. So how we do that is just drag, hold it, and drag it to the left. One more. So I just move it here and move it to the first. So now I get index here, and I just get a new step here saying reordered column. So I've just reordered the position of the column. So that's the quick index kind of thing. Now, one other thing, what I really want to show, especially when we are dealing with rating and review data. So, not sure if how many of you guys have really worked on any rating review related report, but I have worked on it. I was working on one of the report last year for one of the client, and they were really keen about. I really don't want to see rating value as 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Can you just come up with some kind of stars in place of 5, 4, 3, 2, 1? So for example, 5 should be 5 stars, 4 should be 4 stars, 3 should be 3 stars, and so on. So yeah, you can do that in Power Query very quickly. So what we'll do is we'll just create a custom column. So again, under add column, now you can do this two ways, either create a custom column or conditional column. But I'll show you a quicker way, which is conditional column. Click on conditional column. And what I'll name it is, I'll name it as stars, okay, or rating stars. And this will be based on my rating column. And what condition I really want to give here is, if my rating column value equals to 5, then I want to enter 5 stars. Now, how do I enter 5 stars? Okay. Now, if you go to Google and just search something like, Unicars in Unicare character, right? And just maybe add star to it. You'll find some black star symbols everywhere, which you can, just copy and paste. So what I'll do is I'll just copy this icon. Okay. And so I've just copied it. Okay. I copied it. And I'll go to my Power Query window and I'll give it there. Now 5 should be C. Once I copied it, it bought that character there, right? So that's pretty cool, right? And obviously 5 means there should be 5 stars. So what we do is we give it 5 stars. But obviously we want to do this for all the different rating values. So once we start with 5, we want another clause. So if the rating is 4, then we give the same star 4 times. So what I'll do is I'll just copy 4 stars from the top rather than copy pasting it again. Just enter that. Okay. Just copy and paste it. So yeah, I sometimes just like these small things that we can do in Power BI. Just copy paste stuff on a Windows machine. I mean, it's quite easy. So we have got 5, 4, 3. We want 2, and 2, and 2 will be just 2 stars. I'll copy paste this, remove the last one. And obviously we saw in a rating column that there were only 5 values, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. There was nothing like apart from these 5 values. So we can give something like, so the last condition could be just an else condition, right? Rather than writing another clause for 1, right? So that's what we did. And what we'll do is I'll just hit OK. So what Power BI did, it kind of created a new column for me saying rating stars. And that rating stars is based on my rating column. Now, just to check whether my rating stars are right, what we can do is we can just do a simple validation, because obviously always validate the calculation you are doing. Okay. It looks it's working, but not always it's working. Right. Okay. First thing you need to keep in mind, whenever you create a custom column, make sure you give it a right data type as the first thing. That should be a rule of thumb. Okay, so click on your data column. So I've clicked on rating stars, and obviously it has got some characters in it. So what I'll do is I'll give it a text type, right? So that's the first thing you always need to do. Create your column, but the first thing is give it a data type. Okay, now I really want to validate if my rating stars are right. So what I'll do is I'll just bring this near to my rating column by just dragging and dropping it and reordering it. And what I'll do is I'll just select one value from my um, rating column just to validate whether it has got right values. So click OK. And if you just see down, load more, there are only 3 stars. So it validates your result, like for rating is equal to 3, you have got 3 stars. Okay. So that's the kind of validation you can do for different rating as well. But yeah, make sure you validate what you calculate here in Power Query. Otherwise, you can just end up with random results on your Power BI reporting. Cool. Now, the other thing what I want to show is, suppose if there's a scenario where you have got some kind of IDs going on in your data set. So for example, we have got review ID in this data set, right? And I just want to add some kind of prefix or suffix to it. Now, how can you really do that? Quick one. Click on your column. And if you go to, I think it's under home. No, it's not under home. Should be under transform. Oh, I forgot where was that. Sorry about that. One sec. Oh yeah, it's under format. I always keep forgetting this. Okay, so suppose if I want to add some kind of prefix is something before a value and suffixes after a value. Suppose I want to add a prefix, say review ID. So I just want to add like R before all the values in this column. So how do I do that? I can choose this option called add prefix. I click on it and it just asks me what value I want to add as a prefix to this value. So what I do is I just add R, and maybe I can just give a bar R and then the value, actual ID. And if I hit OK, what Power BI did, it actually added a prefix to my values in this column. So earlier there's just numeric values, but now they have got a prefix to it, right? R and then actual ID. So those kind of tricks can really help if really want to play around with data and represent it in a different way, or if you're trying to create some kind of different unique identifier in your data that give a self information to it, like RID or something. So that means it is review ID. So those kind of things can really help. So yeah, it's a small trick, not useful in every use case, but yeah, just wanted to show like it's just a click
All
far.
right, we
So
have a couple questions, okay?
yeah. I mean, happy to take Adriano.
All right, Pragati, fantastic. Lots of information here. So we have a couple questions at this point.
Yeah.
We have 3 questions. I'm going to start from Harris. How would you create dynamic connection string via parameter?
Okay. Okay, I think this is not something I'm fully fledged ready to answer, because yeah, I've actually never done that in Power Query. If you mean using query parameters to create some kind of dynamic strings, so yeah, sorry about that. I think I'm not ready to answer that question.
All right, great. We got
Yeah,
a couple more. We
yeah.
have another question here from John. Uh, could the rating star be accomplished with a new column with some kind of count or replace function?
Oh, sorry. Say that again.
Could the rating
Mhm,
start
mhm.
be accomplished with
Yeah.
a new column with some kind of count or replace function?
Okay, so not with the, I'm not sure about the count, but yeah, replace statements could be done. But the problem with the replace statement would be you can replace one value at a time. So, for example, if I want to replace 4 in my rating column with star, right? Then it will just end up with like four different replace statements. Okay, and the other thing would be you are trying to replace a numeric value with a text value. So the first thing you will have to do is first change the data type of your rating to something like text, and then try to do the replace. You can definitely do the replace, but replace will end up having five different replace values for your five different rating values. So like for four you end, so for example for three you end up with 3 stars and you hit OK. So what it did was it just replaced three rating value with 3 stars, and you need to add four more steps for the four different rating values. But what a conditional column did, it just gave you everything in a single step. You didn't have to add 5 steps to achieve that. So I would suggest doing that using a column creation rather than adding replace statements. Hope that answers that.
All right, we have another question here. I think it's out of scope, but
Mhm.
Mohammed is asking, how
Yeah.
can we retrieve live data by using API key?
Hmm. Okay. Obviously, it's out of scope of the session and out of the scope for me as well, because I have never done that before. But I'm sure you can definitely find online, blogs for it, because many people work with these online API access things. I have never worked on that before, so yeah, my knowledge is very much limited to this thing only. Yeah, sorry about that, but definitely you can find it online.
Yeah, you'd have to look at Mohammed for would be related to streaming data there, because you know that the API key you have to make a call, but on that call to the API, you also need to enable something on your side to continuously go through the process, which will be potentially like the process for streaming data, where you're always capturing that feed.
Cool.
All
Thanks for
right.
answering that, Adriano.
Yeah, I believe that would be the route there. I haven't tried using API. I have used
Mhm.
like capturing from other uh, where cloud and web sources, but I would
Okay,
imagine
cool.
through the streaming. Well,
Yeah,
all
no,
right.
I think I've heard about these things a lot. So I'm sure you'll find definitely good articles as well, step by step, demonstrating the process, how you can really do it.
All right.
Okay.
So we're all set here, folks. Remember a couple things just before we return. First, remember, got a question? Use the live chat. Enter your questions on the live chat. Remember to subscribe so you can use the live chat. Also, at the end of this presentation, we will be having a raffle. I will drop a link to the raffle in the comment section. All right, and we got an answer here related to the API, which is same through the REST API key.
Okay,
All right, folks, and back to you here, Pragati. It's all you.
cool. Okay, now let's go to the next part where we'll see a few more transformations. So basically, Power Query is a ETL tool, right? You just bring in your data, transform it, and then load it, right? So that's why we'll be talking about just transformations here. Now, in the next section, what I'll be doing, I'll be bringing in new data set now, right? We have seen a lot of this. Let's see something new. So again, I'll be bringing again reviews data, which is based on books. So what this data has got, it has got more reviews around different kind of books people has read about, and what they felt about it. So those kind of reviews. So I'll just hit OK because I'm in Power Query Editor. And yeah, there was a way in Power Query you can bring in data sets, right? We use this new source from here. Now this data set has got few things there. I can see user ID, some location, like from where the review has been given, then age of the person who has given the review, then rating. We have got book title, and then you have a few more metrics around it, like book author, year of publication, publisher, and so on. And then we have got a few more stuff there going around. Now, there are few URLs there, which I really don't want to have in data. So now suppose if you want to remove few columns, just click the column, right click, and remove it. But suppose if you want to remove multiple columns in Windows machine, use Control key to select multiple columns and hit remove columns. Once you remove columns, all columns are gone, right? And then at the end, we have got, a few more things. Now, in this data set, first thing what we'll look at is age column. Now, can you see this age column value? This age column has got values which seems to be decimal. Now, how can someone have an age like 34.74389988, whatever that big value is, right? Age needs to be whole number. So this is kind of something, one of the scenario where you really need to handle the data properly. Because if you create a chart where you're showing age as a decimal number, your client will just go crazy. Like, how can you show age as a decimal number, right? So the first thing you need to handle, change type of this age column. So how you do that? Click on that column under transform, go to data type, just make it whole number. Now that makes sense. 18 years, 35 years, 49 years, 30 years, and so on, right? So few data challenges, but can really help you if you clean them properly in Power Query. Cool. Now the next thing, what we'll look at is, yeah, one more thing what I forgot to show you guys. Now in Power Query, okay, you can actually collapse these, things and you can bring them back. Now, suppose if I click on the first row of this data set, there's something that comes up at the bottom. Now, what that is, let's just make the bottom window bigger for us. So obviously you see like this data set has got so many columns and I need to scroll it to the right to view the whole information. But suppose if you just want to view the whole information in a single snip, how you do that? Just click on the row and at the bottom, Power BI actually shows all the values for all the columns in that row. So basically you don't need to scroll further to the right to see all the values in that row. Just click on that row and you see all the values there. So that's quick trip if you are just want to see the value in a single screenshot. So that's how you do that. We can bring this back and I want my query pane back. Yeah, that's back. Okay, let's just click the, yeah. Okay, now the other thing, and if you click on this column, then the bottom extra window just goes away, right? So we clicked on the row, that window popped up with details, but if you click the column, that window just goes away. Quick thing. Now the next thing, what we'll see here is, suppose in the data set, now obviously in this data set, I've got something like author name along with book title. Now, suppose I want to represent my data in a fashion where I really want to show author name, then some delimiter, and then the book title. So I want to know author name and book title as a single column. So how we can do that is, you can quickly merge columns in Power Query. So how you do that is, click your column, use Control key on a Windows machine to control click both the columns. And what you do is, select and merge column. So once you hit merge column, a new window appears. And what it's asking you what kind of separator you want between the two values when you're trying to merge them. So what I'll give is, you have so many to choose from, like colon, comma, equal sign, semicolon, space, tab. I'll give a custom one this time and add something like this. And what I want this column to, and this is the name of the column you really want to give. So like what name you want to give to the final merge column. So what I'll give is book and author. Okay. And I'll just hit OK. So now you see that both of these columns are merged into something like book and author. So if you scroll down, you can see the values like my author name. Then I've got my delimiter, the custom separator between the two values, and the book name. So that's how you can, quickly merge the columns in Power Query. Now, the next thing, suppose if I want to see some, stats around, like, for example, by country, I want to see average rating. Now, so I'm talking about grouping our information at a certain level. Now, there are people who are really, really awesome with DAX. And I know they can easily achieve this group by functionality using DAX. So many ways. But let's see how we can do that quickly in Power Query. So what I'm really trying to do here is I want to group my rating, and I want to give it a summarization as average rating. So basically, I end up with a table just having country and average rating. So I want the average rating metric against every other country in the data set. So I have some insight on, okay, what's the country with the maximum average rating? That kind of metric. So simple trick here. We can quickly do that. So the first thing I want to point here is what we'll do first is we'll create a copy of this table and then create a group by on that table because I want to retain my original data set, book reviews here. That's why I'm not creating group by on this, because if I add a group by statement, then it will just replace my original table. But I really don't want that. I want my original data set. So I'll copy this table. Now, two things here. Once you right click on a data set, there are two options. One is duplicate and one is reference. Let's see what the difference is. Once you click on duplicate, now duplicate just creates a new data set, just a copy of it with all the applied steps that I did on the previous data set. So if I go back to my book reviews, I had 6 steps under applied steps. If I go to the copy I created, it has the same steps. So basically, it just created a copy and it's taking the same memory in Power BI. Let's see other option. If you click on book reviews, right click and reference. Now, what reference did? If you see in the reference one, you see there's only one source. And that source tells you that it's referencing my source data, which is book reviews, and it hasn't got those additional steps. So it's basically just referencing all the transformations I've already done on my original data set rather than doing it again, which I got while duplicating the data set. So it's always, good to reference a table if you want to reuse that data set in Power BI rather than keep on creating copies of it, because then Power BI is doing additional work to apply all the steps again, though you can just reference it and then just get rid of those additional steps. So what we'll do is I'll just delete this. I don't want it. Okay, I'm using the reference one because that's the more better thing from performance point of view. Okay, now what I want is I want to group my average rating by country. So first thing I'll do is I'll first rename this data set. Okay, so this is country level. Okay, country level information. That's fine. Now I want to group by country. So what we can do is click on your country column, go to transform. Now, I want to group by country. So what we can do is click on your country column, go to transform. Can someone go on mute, please? I can hear the YouTube stream. Click on your country column. Thank you. Go on mute, please? I can hear the YouTube stream. Thank you. Okay, so click on the country column and under transform, there's something like group by. When I click on group by, a new window opens. Now, once I open the new window, that window gives me a few options what I really want to group by at a country level. Okay, it's asking me some more information. So I want to group by at country level, but what? I want to get average of my rating column. Okay, and I want to give it a name, say average rating. Okay, I'll go to the advanced option. Let's look at the basic. Now, once I hit OK, I end up with 2 columns. Okay, let's give it a few seconds because Power BI takes little time. Okay, so now you can see I end up with 2 columns. One is country and the second one is average rating. So I can see like for every country how my average rating has been. Okay, overall average rating. And if you want to sort it, you can actually sort columns in Power BI quickly. Just click on this. So I want to get the country with the maximum average rating. So what I do is I'll sort my average rating in descending order. Sorting is sometimes a heavy step, but I prefer not to do it until and unless it's really required. So when you sort it, you see all the countries with the 10 rating. Okay, this data has got some really big cleaning issues, but let's ignore them for now. And remove the sorted. So that's how you can create a grouped data set in Power BI. Now let's look at the advanced option of grouping a data, right? So what I'll do is I'll just, suppose if you want to modify the grouped rows. So against this applied step, there's something like a wheel icon, okay? If you click on it, it actually opens you the group by window, which we actually got while applying group by on average rating. So you can just modify this step this way. Now let's look at the advanced option, okay? Initially, I just showed you the basic, the easiest one. Now, what advanced option gives you? If you click on advanced, you can actually add grouping. So for example, if I want to group at country level along with something else, then I can add that here. And suppose if I also want average of rating along with something else metric, then I can add that here. Before doing that, let's see the data set at what all level we can group our data. So for example, we have something like country here. Let's do it by country and maybe category. So what we do is we go to the country level data, modify a grouping, go to advanced, and I want to add grouping at category level, and I want average rating along with, say, total reviews as well. So total reviews basically will be just count of rows for me, right, in the data, and I hit OK. Let's just wait for a few seconds because grouping is a heavy job sometimes. So it takes,
Can you zoom into a little more because some people are saying their fonts are too small.
yeah,
Thank you.
yeah, yeah. So now once I hit that grouping, the table what I've got is I've got grouping at a country plus category level. So category was more around what's the genre of the book, whether it is actress related, medical related, design related, fiction, social science, all those things. And what I did, I ended with two metrics. One is average rating and one is total reviews. So that's how you can make use of grouping in Power Query Editor, and just with few clicks you can create a group by data set if it's required. If it's not, just don't do it. Okay, so that's the quick trick around the grouping. Now, okay, now comes the interesting part. Are there any questions? Quick questions.
Yes, we do. Let's
Okay.
take a look here. We got a few here. Um, First of all, just to remind you folks, remember to like, subscribe, and share the video. And if you have any questions, just subscribe, use the live chat to enter your question. So here we got an answer for Mohammed. It's in the live chat regarding the API question out there. And Christian had a question here. Is there a difference in performance between value replacement and value extraction over when you do it on a data set that has millions of rows?
Okay.
So is there a difference in performance between value replacement and value extraction?
And value extraction, yeah. Okay, so based on my experience, what I have seen is Power Query performance, very much depends on like the number of applied steps or the number of transformations you have on the data set. Like we had a question where someone asked, like, rather than creating rating stars as a column, if I use replace statements, will that be a way of doing it? So if I take the same example, creating a column just took me one transformation step. But creating a replace statement could have been heavy for me because I had to create 5 different statements for different rating values. So in that scenario, it will affect your performance because rather than having one transformation step, you ended up having multiple replacement steps. Now, when you're talking about extraction, obviously extraction can also depend on how you're doing it. I mean, it will actually completely depend on your scenario. If the extraction is a single step and replacement is a single step, I don't think it will impact much. But if extraction is a single step and replacement is more than a single step, it adds more to your transformation steps, and on addition, it will affect your performance. So basically the answer for this is it completely depends on number of transformation steps you end up by both the ways. So that will affect your performance in Power Query.
All right. Another question here. We have a KS asking, nice session on Power Query. Any
Thank you.
suggestions on learning advanced data modeling? Maybe live training, maybe a future session. Any thoughts?
Okay, future session. First on that, not sure, especially advanced data modeling. No, not sure about that, guys, because yeah, data modeling is really a big topic. But yeah, if you really want to learn data modeling, I can actually recommend, one second, I can actually recommend you guys a book. I just have it here, which I'm actually using. So this is like a very old book. It's a data warehouse toolkit by Ralph Kimball. I'm not sure if anyone is able to see it, but
Yes.
it's a book I have been referring through my entire career time, because this is really a good book that tells you the basics around especially because see, data modeling is more around, especially in Power BI, more around creating those star schemas, dealing with dimensions and fact tables, right? So if you really want to learn something, just pick up some basic book, I would say. I mean, not just this by Ralph Kimball, but pick up any basic book on data modeling. And even you'll get many tutorials people have written on data modeling. I think sometime back, I think Nicola and Tom Martins, if you guys know, both of these guys have started preparing some videos around data modeling. So follow these guys, because these are really great at explaining data modeling tips. And I'm sure there are many people already having those kind of YouTube videos. So yeah, just follow good people who are just writing stuff about things. So yeah, I think just pick up any if you are a person like me who like to refer book first and then go through online material, then pick up any basic data modeling book. It should work.
All right. So next question here, give an answer that is asking about how can we get, how and where can we get data for practicing for Power Query? So the resources being used here today, I will share the link
Yes.
inside the video description just below the video here, okay?
Yes. So all the data sets what I have used here are completely freely available on Kaggle. And I'm going to take another scenario where I'll be using AdventureWorks data table, just one of the table. So yeah, all the data sets are freely available. And yeah, if you want to practice few things, I think the best way to practice is start with some, online tutorials, because when you go through those tutorials, they have a reference link of the data sets they are using all through the tutorials. Like the data sets, what I'm using here, I'll be sharing it with Adriano, and he'll be putting up some links on the Meetup group or on the YouTube channel. So yeah, just pick up a tutorial which has got examples of steps, not just screenshots. Pick up something which has got a data set link which you can import it at your end, and go through all the steps which is being shown in the tutorial. So that will help you more in getting understanding. So yeah, I would suggest that.
All right. And as asked here, I will add the toolkit that Pragati just showed us, all right, in the live chat. And
Cool.
I'll add to the resource as well. All
Thank
right.
you. Thanks, Adriano.
All
Okay,
right,
now
so you.
let's yeah, so now let's go to the trick I'm really dying to show you guys. Okay, so we'll bring two different data sources. Okay, um, if you guys are just thinking what I'm looking on my left screen, I've actually got a list of all steps that I'm showing you today. So I'm just making sure I'm covering everything there. Okay, so now what we'll do is let's bring in some transactional data. So I'll show you a few things there. So let's go to the data set. And was it as okay? Sorry, it's a Excel file. I'll bring an Excel data source, and it's a basic transactional data with some information in it. So it's an Excel file which has got one sheet in it, and it has got some basic information like transaction ID, then transaction date, transaction type, quantity, actual cost, and modified date. I'll click OK. And Power Query has just loaded that data. Okay, so the first thing, this spreadsheet had one sheet in it, which was named sheet 1. Let's rename the data first, okay? Because this is something is not making sense. Transaction data. Okay. Now this transaction data has few things. I'm not sure why this quantity column is like that. Looks like Power BI read it wrong. Okay, one second. Let's open the original data set. So this is the original file. Okay, there was some issue with the data. There's some quantity column with some data values in it. Let's ignore that for now, which I actually didn't look earlier. Let's ignore that column for now. And let's not, I'll just remove that column. I just don't want to spend time in fixing it because I want to show something important here. So this is the data set, and we have got some transaction ID, some transaction dates, different kind of transactions, actual transaction cost for which we see transaction, and there's some modified date. Now, the first thing what I want to show here is give a picture of a use case. Okay. Now, for example, in my company, in my organization, or in any organization you work with, they may, start with a Power BI project where your data is in a lot many Excel spreadsheets or CSV files. You load a report, you load the data, do all the transformations, create a report, and share that report with the client. And now that report is working perfectly fine. But after 6 months, client decides, I really don't want my data in Excel because it is really not, flexible enough, or it's not good to have my data in Excel. I want to have it somewhere in a secured place, say in a SQL Server database. So what happened after 6 months was all of your data, which you use for reporting in your Power BI, now has got a change in the data source. So now your data source changed from Excel to a SQL Server database. But remember the amount of work that you did 6 months back on this report. Your report is live and perfectly fine working in client environment. But now suddenly this data source change gives you a panic, like how will I sort it in Power BI without affecting my 6 months whole work? So we can do that. Okay. And how we can do that, I'll quickly show you without impacting your external work. Now, just to do that, let's just, create few transformation in this data set. Okay, so it will just give us some steps there, and we know, okay, this is the work being done here. So let's just do few transformations. So for example, for this transaction date, I want to show it as date. Okay, my actual cost, say I want to show it as a whole number, and again my modified date, I want to again show it as date. And what I want is I want to create 3 columns in Power BI with transaction date, which will have year, month, and day in 3 different columns. Okay. Now, there are good ways of doing it, guys. For example, if you want to extract year out of it, one quick trick. Just duplicate the column. Okay. Go to the right. Sorry, let me make the screen bigger. Sorry about that, guys. So just duplicate the transaction date column. Hit right. Then there's something called, there's something called transform. And once you see transform, there are a few values like year, quarter, month, week, day. So I just want year from this date. I hit year. And in the year, there are few options: year, start of the year, end of the year. Let's just go with simple year. Click year and bingo. My column has just year values in it. Without writing any actual calculation, I extracted year from it. Okay. First thing, rename the column, right? It should make sense what it is about. So that's year. Perfectly fine. Similarly, what you can do is we can create a month column as well. So duplicate the column, go to the column, right click, transform year. Now I want month, not year. So again, I click on month and choose Sorry. I click on month and choose month. Now, in the month also, it gives you different options: start of month, end of month, days in month, name of month. Let's go with month number. So I just click month. And suppose if you wanted month number, you could have done that too. Again, first thing, I'll rename it. Okay. So that's my month. Cool. And similarly, I can just go and extract day. I'll duplicate the column, right click, transform. I want the day part. I just want day. Okay. Or if you want name of the day, you can choose name of the day as well. Okay. And I'll just rename it. So that's my day. Cool. So I have ended up few more columns in there, did few transformations, those kind of things. And obviously, I don't want few columns in there like reference ID and reference order line ID, and I want to remove them. Okay. Now basically you did a lot of work and now your data source changed. How would you really handle that? Let's see how we'll handle that. Now in Power Query, there's something called Advanced Editor. So if you go to Home, there's something called Advanced Editor at the top ribbon. So you go to Home and there's something called Advanced Editor. Okay. Now when you click on it, a new window appears. Now what this window is about, if you see, it shows you all the transformation steps that you have done on your this transaction data set here. Okay. And if you see properly, okay, so I'll not be going into detail, but I'll be just showing you a trick on modifying the data source here. So you see the first step on your advanced editor window, which is basically a M code. You can see your source is an Excel workbook. Okay. Your source is an Excel workbook and it gets data from your first sheet. Okay. So we know the source field is this. Now, you want to replace this Excel source to a SQL Server database, okay, which has got exact same table with the exact structure. So how you do that? Let's look at it. So the first thing what you do is copy your original advanced editor code in a notepad, okay? Because if anything goes wrong when we are trying to make some changes, we at least have something to recover our work, right? Copy and paste it. Cool. Close the window. Now, the first thing we do is we connect to SQL Server database and bring in the same data, which is now residing in a new data source, right? So again, hit new source, click more. Oh, SQL Server was already there. That's fine. Go under database. There's something called SQL Server database. I click connect. Now my database is on my same machine and my server is just like a local host. And once I click OK, it can just take a few seconds, guys. It shows me that I've got something like Adventure Works database there. And my table name is, one second. Yeah, so my table is production transaction history. Once I click on it, I can see the same data set here. Okay. And I'll just hit OK. So basically I'm just connecting my Power BI and bringing that, a new table from SQL Server database. So I have the code here. I'll show you what code I'm referring to. So this is what my SQL Server database has got. Okay, production transaction history table. And if I go to advanced editor again, I see a code which gives me like a source connection for getting this table. Okay, now I want to replace just the source part. I mean, I want to come up with a way where I can just replace the source part of SQL Server database to my existing Excel code. Now, the reason why existing Excel code is because I've already done a lot of transformations here and I don't want to do them again, right? So there should be a way of modifying things at source level. So what we do, we go to production transaction history table, which is coming from SQL Server, click on advanced editor. And what I'll do is I'll just copy this code. Okay. I'll copy it. Again, I'll paste it here in a new window. Now, what I'll do is I'll just pick up the source part of this, advanced editor. Okay. And what I'll do is I'll replace this source part in my Excel source part advanced editor. So if I go there, let me just make this a little bigger for you. First thing what I'll do is give a enter between all the spaces. Make this little bigger. Now, here my source part is Excel. And I had a new source from my advanced editor code for the data set coming from SQL Server database. So let's give some spaces here. So, and don't worry, you have copied this code. So if anything goes wrong, you can always revert back. Paste the new source code, what we had there. Okay. Now, this new source is taking my server name, going to the database, and bringing my product transaction history table. Now, in my older code, what I had an Excel data source. Then I had a number of, transformations going on there, right? Now we have a new data source. So don't forget to put a comma because comma gives like ending of first statement and going to the next statement. And what I'll do is I'll remove this. Okay. Now if I hit OK on this part, okay, I'll end up with an error. But yeah, I want to show what error. So let's continue, keep doing that. If I hit done, I end up with error. The import sheet 1 sheet matches no export. Okay. So what I do is I again go to my source, click on my, oh, sorry. I go to my advanced editor again and just try to see where the things might have gone wrong. Now, if you see this advanced editor code properly, you'll see like next step always references the previous step. So for example, let's see the change type. So if you see this change type, it takes into account any transformation that's done in the previous step, which is my promoted headers, and then applies transformation on that next step, right? And if you see the promoted headers thing has got sheet 1 sheet in it. Okay. But here we don't have anything like sheet 1 sheet. We have something like production transaction history, right? So let's replace that statement. We'll still get an error, but yeah, let's get an error because error helps us in learning things. And then I hit OK again. Now, once I hit OK, Power BI again gave me an error. The column transaction ID of the table wasn't found. Why? Let's see. Click on Advanced Editor again. And first thing here is the best way to track these errors is go back to your applied steps, okay, one by one, and see which step is actually giving you error. Because sometimes when you end up with so many steps, it's hard to track just with the error message where the error has gone. So let's start with source step and see where we go right. Okay, source navigation gave us just like a navigation to the actual table which we connected through SQL Server, and then we had a step saying promoted headers. Now, did you see the difference? When I connected to my database, Power BI by default had my headers there. I mean, the first row has already been promoted as headers, and I don't need a promoted header step. That's where things have gone wrong. So promoted headers promoted my first row as header and got rid of my actual table headers, table column headers. That's why it was giving me error, transaction ID column not found at this step. See, we found the error. So we actually don't need a promoted header step now. So let's go to advanced editor code there and just remove the promoted headers because we don't need it, right? So I'll remove the promoted headers, making sure I copy the previous step name on my next step, which is my change type, because now I don't have promoted headers, right? So I need to remove that. So that's my previous step. And I just hit OK. Okay, looks seems like it worked. Now, let me just make the window a little bigger and keep this here. And no, let's go back. So when you see a source is SQL Server, because you can see in source, it's connecting to AdventureWorks database, and you can see the code here. It's been connecting via localhost server. The navigation, because we tried to connect to transaction history table. So we have got the transaction history table, right? Then we have got something like change data type. That's fine. So you have given different data types to your columns. Then you have removed few columns because we really didn't need them. So we have removed them. Then we did few. So you remember all your steps are there. See, we created a year column, then we created a month column. So we have got all the transformations. So, so this is basically a pretty cool trick. I mean, modifying data sources in Power Query without affecting your existing work, basically. So you have got everything there, your all the work you did in Power Query, but you just changed the source type by doing a small trick in Advanced Query Editor. Advanced Editor window in Power BI. So making those few tweaks to your M code in Advanced Editor just avoided all the extra work that you would have duplicated on your due to the change in the data source on your data side. So that's a trick I really love to use most of the time, because that's how most of the projects work. You start with a CSV file or Excel file, and then after 6 months, you actually have a proper schema and environment where you can put your data, and you have already done a lot of reporting, and then you need to change stuff. So just act smart rather than duplicating your work. So this is the trick I always follow, and it would be great for you guys as well. It will help you a lot. So that was basically the trick I wanted to show you. Do we have 5 more minutes, Adriano?
Sure. And we also have a question here.
Okay.
And first of all, the great trick there showing how to change the data source for it. And also, just a note for everybody as well, as you see on the applied step window, you have the capability of renaming that window. So it's easier for you to locate where,
Yes.
a small short description of your changes.
Yeah, actually he's really right, because for example, you have extracted year, right? So okay, that has got a name there, but suppose if you want to rename it to something like extracted transactional date year or something like that, so you can rename them. Because Adriano, thanks for adding that to the session, because this is really a important step as well, because when you end up with like 30 steps there, you'll never remember what step is doing what. So yeah, thanks for adding that.
Exactly. But I also really like the data source they're changing. It's quite useful, I'll say.
Yep.
Back at the range here, we have a question here from KS, which says, instead of month number, is there a way to show month names?
Yeah, definitely. What we'll do is, I'll just show it again, okay? I'll just duplicate my transaction date. And if I right click on it, and if I go to transform, I want to extract month. Now, when I hover over month, it shows me different options: month, which is month number, start of month, end of month, days in month, or name of month. If you click name of month, it actually gives you name of month. So that's basically month name. Similarly, you can do with the day name as well. If you don't want day numbers, you want day names, you can do that as well. So that's again a quick single click and gives you month name.
All right. And so folks, remember, if you have questions, use the live chat to enter your questions there. And also, we will be closing the ability to fill out for the book giveaway in just a couple minutes. So we will be doing the drawing at the end of the presentation. And now it's back to you there, Pragati.
Yeah, I just need, I think, 5 more minutes, Adriana. Sorry for running over.
Not a problem. So great information. I'm quite sure everyone will have great use for it.
Hopefully, yeah. So, okay. So when we have already successfully, modified our data source within the Excel, I mean, from Excel to SQL Server, you can actually remove this step because this was just like a test step for getting the M code for this source. So yeah, once you have done that perfectly right, you can just remove it. Okay. So there's a way to delete it. So you can delete it. Now for this last thing, I'll just bring in another data set. And what this data set is, it's just I think it's a random data I found on Kaggle again, Kaggle website. Most of you must have already known. So what this data set gives me is like it has just got like age and age related and some PI information against few players. Obviously, it's not the real information. It's just made out information. But yeah, it's more around that. So I'll just hit OK and bring in this data set. It's a player data set. So you can see there are a few elements there, like for example, first name, last name, their residence information, their birthplace, and their birth age. Okay, somehow Power BI read these columns as empty. Oh no, it's not empty. It has got values in it, like whether the player is left-handed or right-handed. Okay, there is value in it. So yeah, it has got something. The only problem is it hasn't got header. So yeah, in such scenarios, you can actually look at the data and give them some kind of headings. Okay, like I'm not sure what header we need to give there, but yeah, look at the data and then you can just give them what kind of headers. So yeah, sometimes you can face those kind of challenges. But let's not look at that. Let's look at the next trick. Now, suppose you have got a data set where you have got something like birth date. Okay, and you want to calculate the age of that person. Like, what's the age of that person in single click? So how you will actually do that? It's pretty easy and it's like a single click thing. So obviously I've got birth date column. I want a new column which has got age in it. So what I do is I click on birth date, go to transform. Oh, I again forgot where was that. 1 second. I keep on forgetting the stuff. Oh yeah. So when you click on your column, let me make it a little bigger. And on the top window, there's something like transform. And under transform, there's something like date. If you click on that, there's an option to calculate age. Okay. So how the age will be calculated? So age will be calculated basically just taking the difference between the date in this column and today's date, the current date. Okay. So that will obviously give us age, right? And if I hit age, a new column is created. Let me make this little smaller again. So if I go on the right, oh, sorry, it actually my mistake. I did that on the same column. I should have duplicated that column. Okay, so I've got birth date, and what I'll do is I'll just, duplicate that and click on this column, click on the date, and click on age. So once I click age, I see something like this here, which obviously is not making sense to us because what Power Query did was it calculated duration between birth date value and today's current date. So it is calculated in something like duration. Okay. So first thing, rename it. Okay, let's not rename it. It's in duration, so we need to change it into years, right? Like how many how many years old I am, right? So right click on it, and what you can do is there's something called change type. No, there's something called transform. Under transform, we want to see this value into years. So we click on years and you see 64, 62, 58. And obviously, age can never be decimal, right? So click on it, again, transform it and make it whole number. Now we are happy with it, like 64 years, 62 years, 59 years. We have got pretty old players there, right? And when you're happy with it, just rename it to age. That's basically, a quick trick because I know you can definitely create a custom column, take a difference between birth date and today's date and get that age sorted. But why to create a calculation when you can do things by just few clicks, right? So that's something I really wanted to show, like how quickly you can use birth date to create age in Power Query. And obviously, once you're done with all your changes, make sure to close and apply changes. Okay. If you don't do that, Power BI won't save anything. It will keep on giving you a bar at the top that just save your changes in query editor, right? So make sure you apply those changes, whatever you have done in Power Query. So this is what Power BI is doing. It's trying to apply all the steps, all the transformations you have done in Power Query. And once that's done, make sure to save your Power BI file, because Power BI can be challenging to handle sometimes. So yeah, make sure you're saving your work. So yeah, I think that's what I wanted to show you guys for today's session. So Adriano, have we got any more questions there?
All right, let's take a look over here. Yes, I have thanks, KS. Thanks for the quick answer there, Pragati,
You're welcome.
to her question. Anyway, to see, okay, is there any way to see only working days of the week and not weekends and the holidays via Power Query?
Yes. I haven't tried it by Power Query, honestly, but I've done that using DAX. So you can definitely do that using DAX. And yeah, if you can just search online, you'll get how to calculate weekdays, excluding holidays and weekends. So yeah, I've done that with DAX, but not in Power Query. But I'm sure there should be a way of doing it using some encode functions.
Yeah, and that would be generally the preferred method there, because
Yes.
folks who will optimize your for optimization purpose there as well.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
All right, got another question here from Zenu Zu.
Yeah. Mhm.
Is there any tool good for us to manage AM?
Is that good tool to manage? Did he say that? Sorry.
Yes, correct. I
You mean
mean, I believe it's like editor, AM language, the AM language,
oh,
that
you
is
mean
being shown to use it. Yeah.
Okay. Actually, that's something I'm not aware of, because honestly, guys, I have never, done a lot with M code, because it's generally not required. I mean, if you are just, able to modify the existing M code and it works most of the time rather than writing a new M code. So yeah, honestly, I'm not aware of M code editor. Adrian, do you know any M code editor?
Um,
I've actually not
I'm
come
on the same
across.
boat as you are there. Nothing comes to
Yeah.
mind right now.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, for DAX we have got editors, like we have got good tools there, but yeah, nothing comes to encode. Yeah, that's a good question. Actually, I'll try to find out if there's something. I'll definitely post about it if I come to know if there's a M code editor.
All right. Another one here from Zenu is asking if we want to change the file location of them, but they are the same data structure. Can we create a parameter to let the user to type in new file path, replacing the old one?
Ah, you mean using the query parameters in Power Query? Hmm. I haven't tried it.
Yeah,
I'm
there
not
is
sure
a.
if
It doesn't
that's
come to mind the details now, but I believe you can use the parameter to define
yeah.
your data source.
Yeah,
You know.
could be, but the thing is, I've never tried it, so I'm not sure if that really works. But yeah, something. Yeah, it will be great to try. Actually, thanks for asking that. It could be a good thing to try.
All right. Can you? I have Martin Collins saying pound shared will show you all your M functions. So can you elaborate
PowerShell,
on?
PowerShell.
No, he's saying pound shared. I'm not quite clear on what he means by that. So you need to elaborate a bit there, Martin, because I'm not quite clear on what you mean on that. If you mean PowerShell, you mean something else. All right. All right, folks. I will get back to the question in a second. Just let you know that I'll be downloading the file now for the uh, drawing. So we'll run through that in just a minute. So let's go back to the questions here. There's a comment here from Christian regarding Christian Vohan. You can add a calculated column with the day of the week and create a column with a condition there. That is also a possibility. Just keep in mind that will increase the size of your data there.
Yeah, I think creating more columns can be really challenging. So yeah, just better if you really need more columns on your existing data set, I would recommend get that done at the source side rather than making Power BI, do this stuff.
There we go. Goes back to the data model design, whether
Hmm.
and when to add the column, what columns should be present on the model or not,
Yeah,
and the value of
exactly.
it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Awesome. So, folks, remember, you still have time here to ask a question. We'll be here for another minute here as I just download this and get set it up. So, do not hesitate. Enter your question in the live chat. If the session has completed, feel free to use the comment section below the video to enter your questions. And folks, remember, subscribe, like, share, and very important, comment. You like the video, use the comment section, please. Let us know, even if it is a simple I like it. It will be great help for the channel. Now, Pragati, I gotta tell you, you already have a question from Krishna. When is the next part?
Oh, what do you mean by the next part? Do you mean the next part of the session or some advanced session?
Yeah, they want more from about Power Query.
Yeah, if it is about Power Query, I'll definitely be coming back with the next level of session, because this was the first basic session I really wanted to give to the people who are really new to Power BI and how to handle things in Power Query. But yeah, definitely there will be a new session with advanced things, guys.
All right, gotta thank here Krishna as well. He already got a confirmation invitation here to Pragati. Great about the session. This is awesome. There. All
Yeah,
right.
definitely. Yeah, if anyone wants to have updates regarding the sessions of my upcoming session, then you can just see it on my LinkedIn, because I'm pretty active on LinkedIn, and as Adriano I keep promoting my sessions a lot. So yeah, if you want to get updated on my upcoming sessions, you can go there, or you can also go onto my blogging website datavibe.co.uk, where there's a speaking section on the website where you can find all of my upcoming sessions. So yeah, if you guys want to register for them, you can just go on. There are links to register as well against every upcoming session, so you can go and register for them as well.
All right, folks. Just a minute here. We will be running this, and before we move on to the next item, I would like to share a couple of things. So let's start by reminding everyone to register to our next session using Python forecasting in Power BI, coming up on February 1st. And we look forward to see you there as well. You're going to learn about integrating Python in Power BI to do forecasting. And this will go cover the basics, go beyond, show you how to also use and leverage DEX when involving calculations. Will be a great session. We'll cover machine learning, uh, Power BI forecasting techniques, and Python integration. So look forward to see you there as well. And as we reach to the end here of our session today of Unhide the Power of Power Query in Power BI with Pragati Jain, would like to thank her very much for the great support making the time be here with us, premiering this new session that she has there.
Thanks. Yeah, I think this is the first time I've gave this session to your user group, Adriano. So yeah, it's the newest session for me this year.
It's very exciting that we are honored to
Yeah.
have you sharing some great knowledge.
Thanks. Being my pleasure, and obviously the amazing audience. Thanks for the questions, and obviously, guys, I've written down few queries which I was not able to answer. So definitely, I'll be posting about the answers soon on my LinkedIn profile. So yeah.
All right, so let's jump here to the drawing in a second. I have taken already, folks. All the answers,
Wow.
we have 29 entries here. All right, and we have those 29 entries right here, as you can see. I think it is visible for everyone. And all right, I believe we have 3 books that will be going, and that is all thanks to our supporter, Packet Publishing, and we will be using drawing for the Power Query Cookbook. So source there for your Power Query knowledge. So everybody is ready. And first, let's take a quick look. Make sure that we don't have duplicates entered here. As far as the email addresses, they are unique. Oops. We have one double entry here. So make sure everybody will get a good equal chance of as well. And those are 2 different ones. All right, that's exciting. So now we have there were a couple removes there. Let's shuffle. A couple of shuffles here, so we get a good mix. And let's click to spleen, and there we go. And the winner is all right. We have a winner here, folks. That's our first winner. Oops. All right, that's the first one. And that's remove you. And next. Remember, we're spinning for the Power BI cookbook from Packet Publishing. And the next winner is. All right. Final. All right. Great. So there we are. We have the 3 winners for the drawing. We will be contacting you and to follow up and put you in touch so you can receive your book. And once again, thank you very much, you all, for making the time to be here with us. This outstanding opportunity to learn Power Query in Power BI by Pragati Jain. Her contact information is down in the description below, in addition to the resources to the video. So if you don't know data sources and other resources, check out the resources below. I'll be updating when I receive here the information. Any last words here, Pragati?
Yeah, I think thank you everyone. I mean, especially joining from different parts of the world, and yeah, really enjoyed delivering this new session of mine. And thanks, Adriano, for giving me this opportunity for delivering session for your group. So yeah, thanks everyone. And yeah, definitely guys, I think someone just wrote like social networking site. Yeah. So definitely guys, if you guys have any query, just reach out to me on LinkedIn, on Twitter. I'm on Power BI community as well. So you can drop me a message there, or you can even write me a message on my blog as well. So yeah, definitely reach out to me with any Power BI related questions. I'll be glad to help.
All right, folks, and thank you very much, Pragati. Folks, I will put this video offline. I will have to blur the email that comes to mind. And then after a few hours, but I'll have it available later. All right. Folks, remember, check out the South Florida Power BI on Meetup. Check out Pragati's contact information just below. And have a magical day out there for everybody.
Thanks everyone. Have a great day ahead. Bye.
Bye bye, everybody.